Hi! Cooking with Brenda. We are going to make a peach pie using our canned peaches. Stay tuned. First, we're starting with the crust. Brenda doesn't measure. Teaspoon of salt.
2 cups of flour.
2 cups of flour.
Don't pack it in.
So how much Crisco?
Well, the 2/3 plus a tablespoon. So that's the recipe.
And do you use a fork, or what do you like to use?
I like to use 2 knives.
2 knives?
You want to cut the shortening into the flour.
Okay.
Should end up like little pea-sized or smaller sections. So you can't stir it in. It just has to be kind of chopped in. And there's a pastry blender that many people use. Some people use a fork. And this is just the way I've done it because I didn't have a pastry blender when I started out.
I've never seen anybody use knives like that. That's pretty interesting. It's working great.
Well, I guess it was, I didn't invent it.
Did your
saw
mom do it?
Somewhere. No, I think Mom had a pastry blender. I think. But then you have to, all those little rungs on the pastry blender, you have to clean those off every once in a while, and this just, then they clean themselves.
That's a great idea.
I think so.
I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Four to 5 tablespoons of cold water.
Cold water.
So your so the shortening doesn't melt, so it stays. And you want to put the cold water in a little bit of it, not the whole thing, just in case you don't need to use it all. Because if it's too wet, it's not going to be flaky. It's going to be hard.
So you're just moistening your flour.
Yes, and it will kind of come together in the middle when it's good. So I need a spoon. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it's looking wonderful.
I hope so.
So you did use the whole 5 tablespoons.
I did, and a good pie maker, maybe not me, might know that we need a little more. We might need a little more.
Okay.
Let's hope it's, when it comes time to roll it out, that it's the right consistency.
It looks it, Brenda.
Nothing worse than you go to roll it and it's not going. You want to actually like mix it as little as possible so that it's more tender.
Mom always said that. Don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it, yeah. So if it doesn't roll out nicely the first time, then you have to mess with it. And yeah, that looks good.
That looks beautiful.
Looks good. Okay, so
All
there's
right.
our crust ready
There's
to
our
roll.
crust. We're going to set that aside and we're going to work on the peaches. Okay, so Brenda has cut up 4.5 cups of peaches. And these are peaches that were from South Carolina that I canned last year. Look at how good they look. Can you see? So now we're going to make the crust.
Flour your surface. And basically you're going to use half of your dough for the bottom. And if you're making a lattice, which I haven't made for a while, I don't know how much we're going to use.
Always a good idea to throw some flour on your rolling pin.
Mm-hmm.
That helps it not stick, and your surface, of course. And then you just roll and roll and roll till you get about the size of your pie plate. Oh, crust looks delicious. I always have a really hard time picking it up off the counter.
And some people would actually roll it onto your rolling pin and then transfer it to your pan. Hopefully ours will come off of the surface easily.
Now see, she's not putting a lot of pressure on that. You really don't have to.
No, because it's very soft. And what I usually do is fold it over. It is
sticking some.
It's gonna be very short, as the old timers would say, makes it flaky. But if it's too short, it's hard to pick up. It's not gonna be the prettiest crust.
But it's gonna be delicious.
Right.
Our oven is preheated to 400 degrees.
Get this the right size. I'll add some flour to that, so maybe it'll be easier to
Yeah, you think
roll.
it needs a little bit more flour?
Yeah.
What if it's still a little bit sticky?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Since that was a little sticky and hard to come up from the counter, we're going to add some more flour. Make it less sticky.
Which we would roll out and then cut out strips to weave on the top. Yeah, that feels better.
Yeah. Now, do we do that now or do we wait until our filling's done?
Well, we can do the filling because it needs to get in right away
Okay.
so that it doesn't juice up too much. So, yeah, that's better.
Yep. Oh yeah, look
Much
at that.
better.
That's the secret. Add a little bit more flour.
So we need them as long as the pie. So we'd have the strips, cut the strips this way, and then we will weave them onto the top.
Look at all the juice in the bowl.
Yeah, so we need to like drain that so we're not, I mean, it's not taking away the flavor, but we don't want it to spill out into the oven.
So now we're going to cut up the lattice strips.
And you could be real scientific and measure, or you could just cut them.
Go by eye. That's what makes it homemade. So the canned peaches are canned with a light syrup. So there's already some sugar in it. So we're going to add, how much, Brenda?
The recipe calls for 3/4. We're gonna do a half.
Yeah,
And
let's do a half
I
just to
think
be
that'll
safe.
be good. A little bit of
then-
lemon zest.
About half a tablespoon.
Calls for a teaspoon of vanilla.
Get this out of your way.
And again, I don't usually measure a teaspoon of much of anything. Half a tablespoon of cinnamon. We'll just give it a little bit of a measure. Cinnamon just makes the peach flavor. It adds to the peach flavor. And a tablespoon of lemon juice.
Can we do this instead?
Oh, yes. You may scrunch away a juicer.
That was
Perfect.
quite a bit. I think that's
Perfect.
enough, right?
Oh, yeah. We don't want to make lemon pie. Need a little flour or cornstarch.
Oh,
one of the
cornstarch.
to give it to make it thicken.
That's
Flour
right.
or cornstarch.
We'll do some flour.
Okay. Remember what the recipe?
Oh, look at that filling. Wait till you see this.
Filling looks good. It's juicy.
Oh, this is gonna be good. How much flour?
It's probably about this much. About 1/4 of a cup.
Fourth of a
Just
cup.
makes you don't want it too thick, but you also want it so when you cut it, it stays in its slice if possible.
So it's just a little bit of a thickener.
Yes. Use cornstarch, and some people would use flour. If you were gluten-free, you would use cornstarch.
Ah, true. And gluten-free flour. Is there such a thing?
Oh yes, well you could use any almond flour or whatever flour you use for if you're making gluten-free anything.
Who's ready? Look at that.
Ready to
Can you see that?
Pour in the filling. It doesn't take long when you've got canned peaches.
Oh my goodness.
Perfect.
Oh, this is gonna be so good. Can you see? Look at how delicious that looks. Now she's gonna make it pretty.
We hope.
Is it gonna come up? Oh yeah. See how easy that came up? Because we added a little bit more flour.
A little bit of flour.
Look at that. And with a lattice top, you can get as decorative as you want. I know that there's some fancy cutters that you could have some pretty edges on it.
You can also buy a cutter that you set on your, it would be a fake lattice top. You can set it on there and it cuts out the holes and you have a lattice top.
Oh, but that's not homemade.
Since we haven't made one of these for a while, it might take some reconfiguring here, but we'll see.
That's fancy, Brenda. Look at that. Nice job.
Thank you. Okay, so this one should go under.
Over, under, over, under.
And when it comes together like this, it is kind of fun.
It's looking beautiful. Look at that. Who's coming for pie?
I always say my mother loved pie and she didn't think she made good pie, and so I became the pie baker in the household.
That is why I knew today's recipe would be a pie. Perfect.
Well, not too spaced out nicely, but not bad for a try of, haven't tried it for a while.
Voila.
All right.
So now you're just going to trim the edges. And this is going to go in a 400-degree oven for, what was that?
About 25, I think.
25 minutes, and then we're going to reduce the temperature to cook it the rest of the way. And we'll be back. Peach.
If you have some leftover pie dough, especially with lattice, because we didn't make a whole crust, you can make little miniature pinwheels, is what my family called them. Roll out your dough, kind of in a rectangle. Add some butter, some cinnamon and sugar. Roll that up in like a jelly roll thing. Slice it and bake those little pinwheels, and you've got like a little treat. And you don't waste your pie dough.
That sounds delicious. We're going to have to do it.
This is my kid's favorite thing of pie.
Ready to see how this pie turned out?
Our lattice is a little non-symmetrical, but
It's
it is
homemade.
yes, it's homemade and the pastry is excellent.
Can't wait to have some.